Ezra Hashem, today's daf is daf Chaf Aleph, and we will begin on daf Chaf Amid Beis, and we're going to begin from about today's daf is okay. Hold on. ISO Shan. We just began. Okay, today's daf is daf Chaf Aleph, and we're beginning about like 10 lines from the bottom of Chaf Amid Beis. We learned in the Mishnah that sometimes the sotah waters are not going to work. Why? Because yesh lo zechus. If she has some merit, she did some special thing. We'll discuss what that is. Sometimes it could extend the period of the effectiveness of the sotah water to kill her. Will take 1 year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. The Mishnah says it could even reach 3 years that nothing's going to happen with the sotah waters, and then one day, boom, she pops. So first the Gemara understands Mani Mas Nisan. Who is our Mishnah going like? Loi Abba Yosef ben Chanan. It's not Abba Yosef ben Chanan. V'loi Rab Lozer ben Sadik Ish Kfar Doram. It's not either Rab Lozer ben Sadik from Doram, from the town in the south. V'loi Rabbi Shmuel. It's not Rabbi Shmuel, because they're all going to hold that merits only save you for a shorter period of time, never 3 years. The Tanya we learned in a Brisa. Im yesh lo zchus. If she has some of this special merit, it extends to her shloisha chadashim. It extends to her. The maximum is 3 months. That means 3 months, something's going to happen to her. Today, hakaras uber, when you can tell that she's somewhat pregnant. Divrei Abba Yosef ben Chanan. This is what Abba Yosef ben Chanan says, and it's based on this pasuk. The pasuk says, as you can see on the screen, v'niksa v'nizra Sarah. If she is v'niksa, sometimes she gets cleaned for a period of a nizra zara, as much as you can get pregnant, as much as you can tell somebody is pregnant. So that's what he learns, that Abba Yosef ben Chanan learns, that for a period of 3 months, v'niksa, through a merit, nothing's going to happen. And then something's going to happen. Says the Gemara, Rab Lozer ben Yitzchak ish kvar doram oimer. Rab Lozer ben Yitzchak says that he says that the maximum that the sotah waters won't work is tes chadashim, 9 months. That means for 9 months it's not going to work if she has this great merit. Shenama, the pasuk says, v'niksa v'nizra zara. She's going to be cleaned, and v'niksa zara, she became pregnant, but in a full-term pregnancy. Well, and another pasuk says, zera ya'avdenu, you work out the whole pregnancy, and then you supar, the child is born and could live and tell over the praises of Hashem. Zera haroi lisapa. We get a human being that is capable of speaking. So it's a pregnancy to produce a child that's capable of speaking. That's the extension of a merit. Rabbi Shmuel says shneim asa chodesh. He says the maximum is that the extension of a merit will extend that out for a year. For a year won't work. Now you have to know a little bit of Navi. We never learned in yeshiva, but there is a story in Daniel which describes Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he told Daniel his dream that the dream told Nebuchadnezzar that he's going to turn into an animal. You never heard that one. He's going to turn into an animal, and he asked Daniel advice how to prevent that from happening. So the Daniel gives him advice like this. The Ksiv, it says, there's some indication in the Tanakh that you could extend a shlechte besura for a year. The Ksiv, it says, Daniel's advice to Nebuchadnezzar was, Lochein malka milki yushba alayach. Listen, my king, yushba alayach, and then you'll let my advice be favorable to you. All you got to do in believe in my advice and start giving tzedakah, and you will be redeemed from this bad dream. And your averis with being gracious to poor people, that's how the bad dream will not take effect. We go to Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph. And then you'll have a long period of time for your serenity. That this bad dream is not going to come to fruition. Now, this is what a Nebuchadnezzar did. He actually started to being generous to the poor Jewish people that he exiled after destroying the temple. He started giving them food. They all were eligible for food programs. And that's what he did. And then he changed his mind. After 1 year, he forgot about his dream. And he says, what am I giving away all my money to poor Jews? So the pasuk says, Kol mata al Nebuchadnezzar malka. Eventually, in Nebuchadnezzar, all the bad dream came true. He turned into an animal. He turned into an animal. He went nuts, and he started eating grass. He grew his hair very long, and Tanakh describes it. His hair was like the feathers of an eagle, and he had long nails. So he turned into a non-human, and that's how he died. Uksiv, the pasuk says this all occurred after 12 months. So what you see that the merit of the Nebuchadnezzar only lasted for 10 months. And so how does our Mishnah say that if a woman has a merit and she drank the Sotah waters, it can protect her for at least 3 years? Answers the Gemara, La'olam Rabbi Yishmael. Maybe our Mishnah goes out like Rabbi Yishmael. But there's another pasuk that says if God finds like 3 merits, then each one will push it off for a year. So it's eventually it could actually extend out for 3 years that the Sotah waters will not take effect. The pasuk says, Koi Omar Hashem, so says God, Al Shloisha Pishay Adam. On 3 averas of sins, God says, I'm going to forgive, or I'm going to extend and not punish them. So we see that for 3 merits, you can get an extension for a long period of time. So the Gemara just clarifies, Umay Afal Pishain Ra'aladava Zeichladava. Why did Rabbi Shmuel say that I don't have a real proof? I just have like a hint that that it could work for 12 months. You see clearly Nebuchadnezzar had this terrible dream that he was going to turn into an animal. It should have taken effect right away, but he had a merit of giving to poor people, so it didn't take effect for a year. That's a clear proof, indication that merits can extend for a year. Answers the Gemara, fantastic teretz. Dilma, maybe Sha'ani Goyim, the loy mifkedina alai. God wants to extend the period and he doesn't punish Goyim on their averos right away, because he wants to save the punishment for them, the real punishment they should get in the next world. But for a Jew, even though you have a merit, God wants to punish you right away. So you get all your punishments in this world so that when you come to the next world, you have a clean slate and you could go right away into Gan Eden. So it's not really a clear proof, but it still upholds that a woman who has a merit, and if she has 3 special merits, she could extend the period of the effectiveness of the Sotah waters. Even though she's guilty, it will not kill her for 3 years. So now, what is the merit? That's the question. So the Gemara questions, what merit did this woman do that we say, that it will protect her and the Sotah waters will not take effect? That this woman learned Torah. It can't be, because a woman is not commanded to learn Torah. So therefore, at best, if she's learning Torah on her own, it's only a mitzvah, like a voluntary mitzvah, which shouldn't have the power enough to protect her from an immediate punishment of having an affair with somebody while she's married, an extramarital affair. Ella zuchus de mitzvah. She must have done a special mitzvah. So if she did a special mitzvah, let's say she gave did hachnasas kala, that could protect her. So the Gemara says, the mitzvah, the merit of one mitzvah, mi magne kulahai, would protect a person so much. Vatanya, mitzvahs protect you, but they don't protect you that much. Vatanya, from punishment. A punishment, God doesn't, if you deserve a punishment, the mitzvah is not going to protect you from that punishment. You get separate reward and separate punishment. Because Vatanya, we learned in Braisa, as Zu Darash Rav Nachman bar Yosi. The following, Rav Nachman bar Yosi darshaned and extrapolated from a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Kiner mitzvah v'Torah ar." That's what the pasuk says. Let's see. The mitzvah, we see it on the screen. Mitzvah is compared to a lamp, and Torah is compared to like the sunlight. Okay, so they're big difference. They both give off light, but a lamp obviously is only for nighttime, and it needs fuel. It could run out of oil, but the sun never runs out. So that's how you compare a mitzvah to when you compare to doing a mitzvah to doing Torah. As mitzvah bener, the mitzvah is like a lamp. It teaches you mat ner eino megina ela lefisha. Just like a lamp doesn't protect you only for a period of time, maybe at night, and only as long as you have fuel in the lamp. Af mitzvah, so also a mitzvah, eina megina ela fisha. It will only protect you a little bit while you're doing it, but not for an extended period of time. The asa Torah, Torah is like light. Loy melacha teaches you. Torah is ma or megin la'olam. Torah, if a person studies a lot of Torah, so he has the merit of learning a lot, it protects you forever from punishment. Af Torah megina la'olam, just like light protects forever. There's every day there's light. So also Torah can protect a person forever. That doesn't mean that he'll never get punished, but it extends his period till God punishes him. And we'll see more about that in a moment. We'll see. The pasuk says v'oimer. The pasuk
if the punishment could be pushed off for 3 years, what's this woman's relationship with her husband while this delay in the actual killing of her with the Sotah waters is delayed?
It's a fantastic question. That's a good question, because really, when I guess we have to presume innocent, and that she should go back to her husband and live normal man and wife. But if it turns out she's guilty, then yes, she did go back to her husband in sin. But you're right. Maybe I don't know. I don't think that will hold back after drinking the Sotah waters. Now you have to abstain from each other for 3 years. But you're right. Maybe she shouldn't go back. But I think she does go back, and we presume she's innocent. But anyway, we're in the middle of a question over here. We're in the middle of the question is that if a woman is not mechuyev to learn Torah, so at best, what is protecting her? A mitzvah? A mitzvah will not protect her for 3 years, that's for sure. When you go, it guides you. When you walk, Torah leads you. So the Gemara darshaning that pasuk in Mishlei talking about Torah, how special it is. It guides you It guides you in this world. It guides you in this world. When you lie down, Tishmar alecha, it will protect you. Zumisa, when you pass on. And and when you wake up, this will be your speech, la'asud lavai, in the future. So what does this all mean? So the Gemara is going to explain that how Torah, it protects you in this world, in the next world, and when you stand up Tchiyas HaMesim. Let's see. Mashal la'adam. It's a parable to a person. A man is going by the dark, the real dark at night. Umisyare, he's afraid of minakoitzim, from thorns, uminapchosim, potholes, like he doesn't want to trip, uminabarkonim, type of thistles, umachayara, and from wild animals, uminalistim, from bandits. The Eini Yadeya, and plus, a person's walking at night, he's like a plane out in mid-ocean without a GPS. The Eini Yadeya be'ezeh derech mahalach. He doesn't know what direction he should go. So then, nizdamne loy avuka sha'ur. All of a sudden, he gets a lamp, right? He gets a torch of fire. So that's like equivalent of a mitzvah, right? So you get saved. The mitzvah protects you from some mishaps. Nitzal min hakoitzim, min hakosim, umin barkonim. You're saved from thorns and potholes and from thistles. In other words, you have some protection with a mitzvah, but it's not enough. Just to do mitzvahs is not enough for a man. A man has to be involved in learning Torah. Ba'adayin misyare, the man who's going in the dark, he's always afraid, mechayara, from a wild animal, umin halistim, and from bandits, because bandits go at night and they're not afraid of somebody just holding a torch. So and furthermore, when you're still going, you still don't have directions. As soon as the sun comes out in the morning, so then you're protected from wild animals and from bandits, because during the daytime they're not out. But so therefore also Torah will protect you from sin and from falling into the hands of the Yetzer Hara, and also from suffering. And you still don't know the direction you're going to go. Maybe you're going to get trapped into the Yetzer Hara as life goes on and you give up Torah. But Higia leprashas drachim, when you get to a fork in the road where there are signs up, that means if you reach the day of death and you still with it, you didn't give up on learning, nitzal mekulam, then you're safe from everything. Nothing's gonna, when you get to the next world, you're gonna be safe from punishment, and you'll get up tchias amesim nice and easily. Okay, we're still in the middle of the kasha. Again, the question is, what did this woman do? She can't learn. If she learned, I could understand that could protect her for 3 years. At best, she did a mitzvah. Mitzvah is like a lamp. It only protects you for a little bit, but not that long. Davar acha. Another way to understand, we're just expounding before we get to the end of the question of what is a mitzvah and what is the difference between doing a mitzvah and doing an avera, learning Torah, doing a mitzvah and Torah. Again, mitzvah is a lamp. Torah is like sunlight. So we say, and this is very hard to understand, avera, if somebody does like a sin of znus, that's basically what an avera is, right? So an immoral sin. So mechaba, it could extinguish a mitzvah. It could extinguish a mitzvah, and that you don't have too much protection, and you get punished right away. The ein avera mechaba Torah, but sin will not extinguish Torah. You'll still be able to come back. If a person only does mitzvahs and then falls into znus, it's hard to return. But if he was involved in a lot of learning, then the avera will not extinguish the Torah. He'll be able to come back, and you'll see in a moment an example of that with David HaMelech. Shenema, the pasuk says, "Mayim rabim," a lot of water, lo yuchol lechabes es ahava, cannot extinguish love. Love refers to Torah, and Mayim rabim refers to the avera. So therefore, a bad sin cannot extinguish the Torah. Anyway, ends the question is, what exactly did this woman do that she gets an extension of 3 years? So Amar Rav Yosef explained that really she did a mitzvah, but you have to understand that a mitzvah does protect you. Be'idna mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah, let's say you're involved in a hatzala, in saving somebody's life. Be'idna the asukbe, while you're involved in a mitzvah, magna, the mitzvah will protect you from any bad punishments. If God's supposed to punish you, he will not punish you while you're doing a mitzvah. Umatzle, and it will protect you from the Yetzer Hara. Be'idana deloy asikba, but when you're not involved in a mitzvah, so then aguni magna, you're still protected from punishment. God will hold off punishing you because you did this great mitzvah. Atzule loy matzle, but it will no longer save you from the Yetzer Hara. While you're not involved in the mitzvah is finished. So then you could fall back into the Yetzer Hara again. So that's the advantage of a mitzvah. It's only like a lamp, which is a little bit temporary. It has some permanence to it as it protects you from suffering, but it doesn't have that. It has a lot of temporary. Because once you finish with the mitzvah, you can fall back in the Yetzer Hara. Torah, bein bi'idana da'asuk bei, bein bi'idana da'asuk bei, magno masla. Torah, when you're learning and involved in it, and when you're not involved in it, you'll always be protected from suffering. Umatzlan will protect you from the Yetzer Hara. So that's how this woman did a mitzvah, and this mitzvah protected her that the Sotah waters didn't take effect right away, and it extended it for 3 years. So the Gemara just said a statement that Torah is much better than doing mitzvahs, is that it will protect you from the Yetzer Hara for a long period of time. So Maskif la Rava. So Rava asked the question, Elamiata, based on your logic, in the Tanakh we learned Doeg v'Achitophel. Doeg and Achitophel are great people of great learning stature, and they turned out to be Rishoyim because they spoke a lot of lashon hara against David HaMelech and tried to undermine his kingship. But Milay Aski b'Torah, didn't they learn a lot of Torah? So Amai lo higena alayhu. Why were they not protected from the Yetzer Hara, which the Yetzer Hara enticed them to sin, and they became Rishoyim such that they don't even have Elam Haba. So Ella Amar Rava corrected what Rav Yosef said, that the difference between Torah is a little bit more subtle. Torah be'idana de asik. When you're learning Torah, of course, magna umatzla. No suffering will happen to you, umatzla, and you're protected from Yetzer Hara. Be'idana de layasipa. But when you finish learning Torah, agune magna, it will protect you somewhat from suffering. Everybody has to suffer, but it has this power to push off suffering. Atzule loy matzle, but it will not protect you from the Yetzer Hara. When you finish learning and not thinking about learning, the Yetzer Hara kicks in and starts messing with your mind. Mitzvah, but doing a mitzvah, bein bi'idana de asif bein bi'idana de loy asif. Whether you're doing the mitzvah, whether you're not doing the mitzvah, agune magna will protect you from suffering. But even when you're doing the mitzvah, okay, you're involved in atzala. Atzule loy matzle will not protect you from the Yetzer Hara. So it's a big difference. What Rav is saying is that you could be a hatzala guy and involved in the greatest mitzvah, but you're not protected from the Yetzer Hara, and you can act inappropriately to a woman at the same time. You're doing a mitzvah, but the power of a mitzvah will only protect that you won't be punished at that time. But even further, because you're doing a great mitzvah, but it's not going to protect you from the Yetzer Hara. But if a person's learning and he put his whole mind into learning, at that moment, he's protected from suffering and also from the Yetzer Hara. And so the bottom line is that according to the first teretz of the Gemara, what is protecting this woman? She did a mitzvah. And we learned that although mitzvah is like a lamp, but and when it comes to protection from suffering, that's how a mitzvah is like is more than just a lamp. It actually protects suffering for an extended period of time, for 1 year or 3 years. Ravina says, no, it's not a mitzvah that's protecting this woman. La'olam will tell you zchus Torah. It's really, she is actually learning. Udeka Amrit, you're going to ask me a question. Eina mitzvah va'isa. She's not commanded to learning. So what kind of zchus does she have if she learns Gemara? The Gemara says, really, nihi de pakude loy mipakta. She's not commanded to learn Torah, but she does get reward. Ba'agra de makrin umasni benayu. In the fact, she gets reward for bringing her children to learn Chumash and Mishnah. She helps them go to the yeshiva. A man is supposed to be out of the house in the morning. So who is supposed to be involved in the kids and taking them, making sure, packing their lunch and sending them off to the yeshiva? The woman. And not only that, v'natron luhu legavrayu ad da'osimi bei midrasha. And they wait for their husband to come home at night from the shul learning. Now, this is prior to Zoom, so don't get any wrong ideas. So they wait. And Rashi says, they wait for their husbands that go to another city to learn Torah. So really, they're waiting up late at night for the husband to come home from learning. So therefore, they're very much involved in the Limud Torah. Don't they split the reward with their husband? So if a woman was so ibegegeben to her husband so that he can learn, and ibegegeben for the children that they could learn, so certainly she has the zchus of Torah, and that's enough to protect her from the Sotah waters from taking effect. Now the Gemara says, "My precious Techrochem." What does it mean that once you get to a sign in the road, you know the direction you're gonna go into? How does that fit into the mashal of what we're trying to say? Amr Rab Chizda said, "Zet Talmud Chacham," a person who remains a Talmud Chacham b'yoyim hamisa, on the day of his death. In other words, life has a way of making you give up. And if a Talmud Chacham sticks with his learning till the day of his death, then he gets to a precious drachim. He has a clear indication that he meant it all his life, and that this will protect him even after long after he's gone, and in Olam Haba as well. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, "Zeh Talmud Chacham b'yiras chet." A Talmud Chacham who reaches the fear of sin, he's a person who has direction. In other words, you're not it's not enough to just learn. You have to learn and know how to protect yourself and have the fear of sin. You know, you could be knowledgeable all you want, but if you don't have afraid of corrupting yourself, then you're likely to do an avera. So if a Talmud Chacham has yiras chet, he's a Talmud Chacham that has clarity. Mar Zutra says that Talmud Chacham refers to a Talmud Chacham, the Sakalei Shmaitza Liba de Hilchasa, that his learning is so clear that he's able to have halacha be paskind according to him. In other words, he's not just learning and esoterically, but he's actually learning practical halacha, and his friends agree that he's saying his understanding of halacha is correct. So that is a Talmud Chacham that's reached the precious derachim. Now we explained another thing, what we said about an Aveira and a mitzvah. Davar Acha, we said a thing before that Aveira, if you do immoral sin of znus, let's say, adultery, mechaba mitzvah, can extinguish the merit that you have of a mitzvah. The ein Aveira mechaba Torah. But that Aveira will not extinguish Torah. If a person has Torah, then he won't get that punished right away, even for an immoral sin. They'll give him time to do tshuva. Where do we see that for? In Tanakh, we see it by David HaMelech. Rab Yosef, Darshi, Rab Nachman, Rab Yosef, L'Haikra Ki Sinai. Rab Nachman Yosef, who darshan this pasuk, it's like I got it from God Himself, because that's really true. Ve'ili mali darshu doig v'akatayfa hachu lo'yratfo basa David. If doig and achitayfo really understood that, they wouldn't have chased after David to try to undermine his melucha. As you know, David HaMelech sinned, according to the Tanakh, the way it's written, he sinned with a married woman. And yet he was able to make amends of what he did and be the greatest king. They thought that God left David HaMelech and that and therefore they could undermine his kingship because he sinned so intensely. My drush, they had a drasha that God does not want to see someone who sins immorally with znus. And when Veshav Macharecha, and then God turns away from that person and never comes back. But Dayeg and Achitophel did not know what Rabbi Nachman Bar Yossi taught us. She'aveira mechaba mitzvah. Yes, immoral sin can extinguish a mitzvah. The ein aveira mechaba Torah. If a person is learning, so even if he tripped up with an immoral sin, it will not extinguish the Torah. The Torah will protect him, so he's not punished right away, and God will return to him if he does tshuva. Now we go back to boys yivuzu loy. We learned before, and we brought this pasuk, and the pasuk, I bring it on the screen. Mayim rabam leyuchel chabas ahava. Great love cannot extinguish love, right? Im yitin ishus kol haim beisay bahava. If a person offered all his money, all his wealth for love, baizivuzalai, they will look at him as he's crazy. There's certain things that cost more than money. That's what the pasuk says. So how do we interpret that with regards to Torah? Amma Ula says like this: it refers to somebody who supports Torah, but he supports Torah, but don't misinterpret it. Like a Shimon Achi Azariah. Don't interpret it like Shimon, who had a brother Azariah, who supported him so Shimon could learn. Azariah went to work and gave half his money to Shimon, so Shimon was able to learn. Or like Rabbi Yochanan the Beit Nesiah, when the Rabbi Yochanan and the Beit Nesiah had also a similar deal, that the Beit Nesiah, the head of the group, Jewish government, gave their money to Rabbi Yochanan so he could continue to function and learn. So therefore, if someone supports a Talmud Chacham when he's not famous and he's struggling to build a family, so then you get the same reward as the Talmud Chacham, almost, because you're really helping him along to learning. He can't do it without you. But Hillel v'Shevna, certain things are not for sale. Like Hillel, and he had a brother Shevna. Ravdimi Omar. Ravdimi said, Hillel v'Shevna achihava. Hillel, the great Tana Hillel, had a brother Shevna. Hillel also Hillel went right away to involve himself in Torah, and he was very, very poor. And that we remember the Gemara that he was found on the roof with snow on him because he couldn't afford the payment, the door payment to get into the base medrash. So he listened in to the shiurim of Shmaya Vitalia from the roof, and snow fell on him. And Shevna Ovid Giska, but Shevna, he had a brother who was a rich brother-in-law, and he became wealthy. The Soif, when Hillel became famous, his brother said to him, let us split the learning. I'll give you money now. I'll give you a partnership in a building. And he said, no, now it's too late. And can a person with his whole wealth buy out somebody who struggled and became such a gadol? It's not for sale. Anyway, that's but you look at such a person as scorning. Now we go to the Amar Beis, two more pieces of Gemara, and then we'll stop. Omer Ben Azai. Ben Azai says, we go to Chaf Aleph Amar Beis. Ben Azai says, Chayiv Adam Lamed Esplita Torah. Ben Azai was of the opinion, although he wasn't married, he said in the opinion that a person should teach his daughter Talmud. Why? Because if she's going to see that a woman who drank the sotah waters, nothing's going to happen to her, she'll make fun of the whole Torah. But only if you learn Talmud, you learn Masechta Sotah and Daf Yomi, you'll know that sometimes a merit can protect the sotah waters from working. So even if she was in the audience and saw a woman who she thinks and knows is guilty, nothing happens with the sotah water, she'll know that because she had a zchus, because she learned the Talmud. Rabbi Lezer says you're not supposed to teach Talmud to your daughter. Torah. If you teach your daughter Torah, Malamda Tiflis, you're teaching her how to do promiscuity. Why? So Tiflis Akadaichit, you're teaching her, she learns Talmud, she's going to do Znos. It's if you're teaching her how to do promiscuity. Because what Torah, when you learn Talmud, you become more shrewder and more savvy, and she'll be able to cover up her immoral behavior with the techniques she learned in the Talmud. And that's why that's why we don't. Rabbi Lezer's opinion not to teach your daughter Talmud. Amar Rababo says, my Talmud Rabbi Lezer. What is the reason of Rabbi Lezer? The pasuk says, Ani chachma shechanti arma. That means I take on intelligence, which is a Torah, and therefore dwells with me some shrewdness. Since intelligence or Torah went into a person, so then a person becomes shrewder and sharper. And that's why some good business people are good Talmudists also. So therefore, he said, don't teach your woman that, because she'll use it to cover up her immoral crimes. Rabbanan, this Rabbanan doesn't refer to rabbis, it refers to Ben Azai. Ben Azai says you should teach your Torah to your daughter. So what does he darshan with this pasuk? What does he do with this pasuk that teaches you that when you learn Talmud, you become more shrewder? The boy, he says he learns it differently. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, ein divrei Torah miskaimim el b'mi shemamet atzmai oram aleim. Torah, you have to be, in order to get chachma, you have to be oram, a little bit like Rashi says, is that you're separated, like a poor person, separated from everything, like you're naked, you have nothing, you don't own your property, you own nothing, no business. And then when you clear your mind, that's when you could be kind of Torah. That's what he says. That's what Rashi says. Shnema, pasuk says, Anisha Chachma, the way I could acquire wisdom is Shechanti Arma, I dwelled Arma as if I have nothing else on my mind because I'm so poor. And Rabbi Yochanan says, Ein divrei Torah miskaimim elba misha mesim atzmoi k'misha einoi. He says that it's another idea, that Torah doesn't endure in a person unless he becomes as if he's a nobody. Shenema v'chachmim, to inquire Torah, intelligence and wisdom, ma'ayin timatzi. If you're nothing, then it will be found, because you have to be humble when you're learning Torah, and then Torah remains with you, and then well springs open up with the new ideas open up with you. One last piece of Gemara, and then we'll stop right over here. Rabbi Yeshua Omer. Rabbi Yeshua says, Isha. He said a comment in the Mishnah that a woman would rather take a husband that makes less of a living, but he's always home with companionship. She likes to have companions, and she likes to have a relationship in bed. But to take a husband that makes a great living, tes kaven, but he's never home. That's what the Gemara said. The Gemara says, Maika Amale, what is Rabbi Yeshua saying? Hachikama, Roitzi Isha bekav, a woman would rather desire kav, which is a small living, v'tiflis, and she could have a companionship in bed with someone. Imoy, b'tisha kaven, then a husband who makes a great living and brings home 9 calves, uprecious, and he's separate from her. He's always on the road. So how does this come into the Mishnah? That's because a woman likes to be with a man more than a man likes to be with a woman. At the end of the day, what the Gemara is trying to say is that's why a woman's more likely to fall into a trap of having an extramarital affair, and therefore it all extends to that's why we don't teach her Talmud, so she wouldn't have the shrewdness to be able to cover up from her crimes. Then the Mishnah said one last point, that there are certain, once we brought up Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua was fond of always saying that there are certain people that erode the world. People who have foolish piousness. He called him a chassid shaita. One of the people is a chassid, a pious person who is a foolish person. Give me an example of someone who's a pious fool. The cover of a banara, a woman is drowning in the river, and he says, I can't love I cannot look at her and save her. In other words, not that he's going to let her drown, he delays in saving her because he's too frum even though he's probably the best person to save her. So that is a chassid shaita, because what is a shaita? A foolish person. He has opportunities to do something great and throws it away. And that's what this person's doing. But he's doing it because he's a foolish piousness, and he thinks that God wouldn't want him to be involved in a woman whose life needs to be saved. So that these people are mavala oilam, totally erode the fabric of the world. Okay, we're going to learn more about tomorrow with the other person, the Rasha arm, the cunning Rasha, and how he erodes the world.